Hey guys, this is Dan with Gears and Gadgets. Thanks for tuning in. This is a video I didn't really plan on making. I think I might have another lemon on my hands here. Now, to some people who have subscribed for a while, you may have saw my original 2015 GMC Sierra Lemon series.
This is a pretty average daily commute for me.
They told me that they were going to balance the tires.
It's perfect now. They go drive. He drove before and after. He had a shop foreman tested before he did it and after.
Just be optimistic about it.
I'm not, because you guys have already replaced all 4 tires, and we've done this song and dance. So GM tells me today that they are not going to do anything about this problem. It's within spec. Long story short, GM has agreed to cut me a check. That truck had some vibration issues. I went through a bunch of nonsense with that. I did a bunch of content on the channel with it, and now it appears there's class action lawsuits against GMC, and there's all kinds of stuff going on with that. So when it came time to buy a new truck, I saw these new F-150s, and I was sold. I mean, I love the new design. With that being said, now here I am kind of dealing with some issues. So with the amount of time that I've owned this vehicle and the amount of time that it's been in the shop and what they're telling me it's going to be in the shop right now waiting on parts is 42 days in the shop in about 10 months. It's about 13% of my ownership experience has been at the dealership. Genuinely, I love this truck. I can still say that I love it. It's the best truck I've ever owned, best driving truck when it's driving, when I have it. That's starting to become the issue. So now I bought this truck back around July of 2021. So in September, after a couple months of ownership, I ran into an issue where the shifter was just kind of like phantom shifting from reverse into park when I was backing into my driveway. They went through it, they replaced that shifter module, said that it was faulty. And then I got into October, so just another month goes by, and I started to notice that the screen on the truck would fade to black. And I didn't get my A-pin module swapped out until December 3rd. So for a month and a half, I drove around with a radio that would just fade to black, and the radio actually controls a whole bunch of features of the truck. So that was a real bummer. Now, after December, it was fine-ish until February 28th. I stopped for gas, and as soon as I stopped the truck, filled up the tank, and started it back up again, it started to spit and sputter like it was going to stall. It was driving really terribly. So I kind of limped it back home. I just really kind of low-hanging fruit decided to pick up some mass airflow cleaner, spray off the sensors, and the problem resolved itself immediately. Every check engine light went away, but then a month later, the situation came back again, but this time it threw an EGR code. So I went through the same process again where I cleaned off those sensors, put it all back together, fired it up, and lo and behold, it was still happening. So I parked the truck. This was on a weekend, so I'm like, well, Monday morning, I'll have to take the truck in for service. Monday morning comes, I jump in the truck, fire it up, runs totally fine. All the check engine lights are gone. Everything is just like miraculously fixed. So then last month, I had to go to LA to pick up the Harley-Davidson live wire. That's a 400-mile trip for me. I drove all the way there totally fine, and I got to LA, stopped for food as soon as I got there, turned the truck off. When I come back out, yet again, all these check engine lights, spitting, sputtering, couldn't figure it out. And I started just looking around online, trying to find out some potential pain points that could be going wrong. And the one that came up was the PCV valve. It's right up on top of the motor. So you can pull off the little cover there, pull it off. And I thought the odds of that going bad at around 17,000 miles seems like almost impossible. But it was like a $9 part. So I stopped at an auto parts store, tried to order it, but they couldn't get one till later, and I was already in LA, and I'm like, well, I got to get back home. So I actually just bought some carb cleaner, sprayed out the PCV valve, put it in. Check engine light is cleared. Fingers crossed. Fire it up. All right, so the code didn't come right back. Let's kick the motor on by giving it some gas. All right, no code. So no check engine light for now. And I'm just going to head on back to Phoenix and forget about any sort of other plans that I had here in California. Let's get this truck home, get the bike home, get on down the road. The truck ran fine again. So all of these issues, it seemed like as soon as I would clean something, it would work. Well, then things got really bad on April 18th. As soon as I got in the truck, every check engine light on again, and it just back to throwing EGR codes, misfire codes in every cylinder, which this time seemed worse than before. And at that point I said, all right, I'm done trying to figure this out on my own. Back to the dealership it goes. So I dropped it off on April 18th. That night I dropped it off. And the following day, they told me that the intake tube on the right-hand side, something in a technical service bulletin told them to check that, and they had to replace it. So they replaced it, and I'm like scratching my head thinking, well, maybe it was a vacuum leak. That would make sense that the truck would run fine at speed, but when it would come, drop down to idle, that maybe if there was a vacuum leak that was causing to spit and sputter, but it just seemed like there was something else wrong. It didn't take me more than about 12 hours to figure out that I was right. Got home from the dealership, parked it for the night, and decided to take it to work. Now, I drove home from the dealership totally fine. Sat all night, I get in the truck, fire it up, check engine lights, everything terrible again. And this time when I started the truck up, it ran worse than ever. It would barely stay idle, and I'm like, all right, you know what? Back to the dealership. I just got it back yesterday. This is ridiculous. So took it back to the dealership, and that was April 22nd. Today is May 1st. I have not had it since then. Another thing worth mentioning, I did watch a recent video from TFL Truck. Andre bought a PowerBoost. I think his is an XLT, so it's a trim line below mine, I believe. And in his video, I heard him say,
and my engine lights that I've had about 3 of them in the last year. It says it's a misfire of the engine. That was when I was filling up, and after the next restart, those warnings went away.
Andre, that's the same thing that started out with mine, so watch that EGR valve. Might be heading down a similar path. So they are telling me that the EGR valve is bad. Now that makes sense as to why it would run like garbage at idle, and why I guess would kind of come and go maybe, where the valve was working and then occasionally would stick and now is just absolutely stuck. Fine, replace the EGR valve, but the problem is now they're saying the connector and the gasket are on back order. The gasket is due off back order May 24th, and there is no ETA on the connector. So with those dates being provided, that means that with this issue itself, that is going to be 33 days in the shop. What really stinks about this is that Chapman Ford, who I'm working with here in Phoenix, or they're in Scottsdale, they've actually been great, but they're also the dealership. They're not the mothership. So I'm pretty annoyed. They did give me a Ford Edge for a couple days, but it was already at its upper tier of what they could put on it for miles with their loaner fleet. That's a whole nother conversation, but a legitimate thing. And I went and exchanged it, and now they gave me a Ford EcoSport. So I went from driving a $72,000 F-150 PowerBoost that I bought, and now I'm driving like a $28,000. Okay, so this is a $28,000 car. This is what's frustrating to me right now is the way the Lemon Law works is that if a vehicle is, I think they have to make 4 repair attempts, or the vehicle has to be in for 30 days for the same problem and undrivable, essentially. So basically my truck is down now for an entire month, where I went from driving a truck, which by the way I need. I use it daily for the most part in my job. I towed that motorcycle, so I understand the time that we're in. But with that said, Ford is making decisions, difficult decisions, but they're making decisions through this entire pandemic. And one of those decisions is allocation of parts. So if there are 1,051 PowerBoosts rolling off the line with that 3.5, there's at least 1,000 of these in the nation. So this is why the Lemon Law exists, because something that they sold something to somebody for 72 grand, which I didn't pay that, I paid a little bit under that, but they are making a decision to roll those off the line, the new ones, and sell them all with a warranty. But if they can't get the parts because all of their parts allocation is to the new ones being rolled off the line, and they're not basically honoring their warranty that they sold or are selling these under because they don't have the parts available for it, at the end of the day, if you sell a super expensive truck with parts to make that truck, you then need them available to service those trucks. Do I think I'm going to open a lemon law case at this point? I don't know. It's going to be very interesting. I really hope Ford maybe watches this video and comes up with a better way to solve this than just unknown ETAs on parts. And at the very best, at least a month away. At the very worst, Lord knows, that maybe they see this and decide to change the way that they're allocating parts for some of these vehicles. Again, thank you very much to Chapman Ford for doing their best. They're stuck in the same time that we're all in, but at the end of the day, if anybody's going to sell anything under these times with a warranty, you have to make sure you can honor that warranty, because if you can't, then either get rid of the warranty or don't sell it to begin with. And those are really the only options available. If you think that I'm going to sit around and just kind of wait forever and drive around this EcoSport as I'm paying payments on something that's significantly more expensive, that's not really how this whole thing is meant to work. I don't know. I'm just super bummed out. And if you guys think for a second that there's a part of me as a YouTuber that is like happy that I have this content to make, you're wrong. I've got a bunch of other videos that were meant to be positive, sponsor stuff. I've got other commitments. I could care less to make a Ford lemon law video. I've been down this road before with GMC. It sucks. It's super stressful, time and honestly money. Things that that totally suck. Guys, with that being said, I'll post an update, of course, as this pans out. Maybe magically the supply chain speeds up and these parts become available, and next week I get my truck back. Hopefully I make that video, but as of right now, the outlook by what I'm being told by Ford is that I have a lemon on my hands. Super bummer. With that being said, guys, thank you very much for tuning in. If this is your first time tuning in, please hit that subscribe button down below. Remember, likes go a long way to support the channel. See you guys next time.